Good afternoon to all of you. In the yesterday's class, I given introduction about design of machine element 2, and after that I have started with module 1. Okay. In that yesterday's class, we have discussed about the spring, where you are going to use that spring, and what are the different types of springs which are available. These are the different types of springs. After that, we have discussed about what are the terms which will be used in the spring. Okay, and after that, to manufacture the spring, okay, which are the materials they're going to use, or what are the factors which will be considered for the selection of a spring material. These are the factors. After that, what are the varieties of steel wires which are available? Think up to the 4 different types of varieties I have discussed. In today's class, we'll discuss all these 4 varieties. Okay, when you are going to use, for example, first one, patented and cold drawn steel wire, that is unalloyed. When you will be using that, okay, in that patented, there are 4 grades. Okay, before I tell you when you have to use these grades, okay, and before that you should understand when this first variety, that is patented and cold drawn steel wire, is going to be used. Whether the screen is visible for you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. When the member or the spring is subjected for static force or static load, at that time you should use should use this type of material or variety for the manufacturing of the spring. Okay, in that also 4 types of grades are there. I think all of you know about the static force and the dynamic force. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by this static force or static load? Can anyone answer? In the previous semester also we discussed. In so many times you have used this term, static and dynamic load. Any one of you? Otherwise, I will ask. Nikhil, roll number 77, Nikhil. Tell me what do you mean by static load? Whether you are there?
The load does not vary, sir. It will be static throughout.
Means constant.
Constant, yes, sir.
Yes. Who has answered that?
Rohan, sir.
Okay. Rohan Pattar. Nikhil, whether you are there or not?
Yes, sir.
If you know, see here, if you know the answer, you tell, you know, otherwise you tell don't know. Okay. Any answer ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ದೊಡ್ಡ ತಪ್ಪಾಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. Okay. But you should reply whether you are there or not. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Static, as your friends told, Patar has told, it is a constant, whatever the force which is acting. And dynamic is where the load will be changing or fluctuating. Okay, at that time you can go ahead with this type of spring material, that is patented cold drawn steel wire is used as a spring when a static force is acting on that. In that also 4 grades are there. Okay, when I am going to use this grade 1, okay, you have to use the grade when the member is subjected for low load or you can say it as a low static load. Means for example, like you assume that 3 kg or 4 kg, you can use this type of grade 1 as a spring material. Okay, and when the load is moderate, okay, at that time you can go for grade 2. Okay, in that patented.
Sir, sir, what are these grades?
That's what these grades are, nothing but whatever this patented and cold drawn steel wire is there. Okay, in that 4 different varieties are there. Okay, for example, if you how can I tell? Okay, if you are about to take a pant, okay, or shirt, in that different varieties are there, like slim fit is there or normal, like that. Whatever the material is there, it is same, but in that different fittings are there, like that. In this also patented and cold drawn 4 varieties are there. Either you can go with the grade 1. Okay, when you have to use this grade 1, when the load is static or low load. I think you have understood now.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And the grade 2, when you have to use when there is a moderate load. Okay, and grade 3 you have to use, that is moderate dynamic. Here the load will be fluctuating. Okay, at that time you can go for grade 3. Okay, and grade 4, when the member is subjected for severe stresses. Severe means the whatever the fluctuation of the stresses is there, it is severe, from maximum to minimum or minimum to maximum. At that time you should use this grade 4. Okay, and the second one is oil hardened and tempered spring steel wire. Okay, and wall spring wire. Okay, in this also 2 grade are there. Okay, they have given the name as, here they have given grade 1, grade 2. Here they are given grade SW and grade VW. Okay, you have to use the grade SW when there is a moderate fluctuating stress. Moderate means it is in between. Whatever the stresses are there, it is in between, means it is not the maximum one or it is not the high stresses. It is not less or it is not more, means in between. That is moderate stresses are there. At that time you should go ahead with grade SW. Okay, if the whatever the fluctuating stresses are there, if they are maximum or high, then you have to go with grade VW. Okay, and for this what you call that, for higher temperature applications, okay, where the temperature will be more. Okay, at that time what they will do, they will use the alloyed variant of, that is oil hardened and tempered spring steel wire is used, that is alloyed. Okay, and they can use stainless steel, as I told you, in some of the applications where the environment is corrosive in nature. Okay, at that time you cannot use this as a spring. Okay, means it will catch the rust and the life of that material or the spring will come down. At that time you have to go ahead with stainless steel. This is what the 4 different types. Okay, this is second one and the 4th one. These are the different varieties. This is alloyed. Here you can see that the first one and second one is unalloyed, whereas third one is alloyed and the 4th one is a corrosive environment. These are the 4 different spring materials which you can use depending upon the factors. Already we have discussed the factors and where you are going to use, that plays an important role. This is about the spring materials. And next is what are the symbols which you are going to use in the helical spring. Okay, here you can see that whatever the spring is there, okay, the first spring is unloaded condition. Unloaded means you have not applied the load. Okay, think if I'm having a spring, I could have shown you. Okay, the best example is the pen. Okay, the pen which you are using in that, I think if spring is there, okay, if button pen is there, you can see that spring, you take it outside. Okay, uh, in that case, if you keep it open, then it is unloaded condition. Okay, that will give you the free length. Okay. When you are going to apply the load, here you can see that here I am applying the load in this. Because of that, it is getting compressed. Okay, here it is getting compressed. Okay, whatever the compressed is there, that is called as solid length, and this is called as free length. Here you can see that this is from top to bottom. This is called as free length when the spring is unloaded. When you are going to load it, okay, this condition is called as solid length. From this, you are going to measure the solid.
Your voice is lagging.
It is not clear.
Now it's clear, sir.
Okay, I think because of the net connection. Okay, if any disturbance is there, or if any variation is there, please tell me. Okay, once again I will repeat this. If you take a spring, okay, without loading or unloading, you will see this type of spring. Okay, and if you measure that length, it is called as free length of that spring. Okay, now I am going to apply the load. Here you can see that here I am applying the load. This is the fixed height. Here I am going to apply the load. Because of that, the spring will get compressed. Okay, and both this coil, okay, it will come in contact with this. Further, the member will not get compressed. Okay, if you measure that length, it is called as solid length, and this is the pitch distance between two consecutive coils. Okay, and whatever the deflection is there, okay, when you apply the load, this is called as solid deflection. Ys from the free end up to this is called as solid deflection. It is denoted by Ys. This is the solid deflection. Okay, and here you can see that this is the application of the load. Up to this, the material will deform, or the spring will deform. This is maximum useful deflection. Up to this, it is a useful deflection. Okay, it is denoted by Y2. Okay, and this Y1 is nothing but, here you can see that up to this, when you apply the F1 load, okay, that is minimum load. F1 is nothing but minimum load. F2 is maximum load. When you apply the minimum load, you will see the initial deflection. Okay, when you apply the maximum load, up to this it will deform. Beyond that, the spring will not deform. Okay, this is called as initial deflection, and this is maximum, and up to this it is called as solid deflection. And here you can see that these are the symbols which will be used. L0 is nothing but the free length of the spring. D is here you can see that small d. Okay, whatever this is there. Okay, this is nothing but a diameter of the spring wire. This is the diameter of the spring wire. And capital D, here you can see that here, from here up to this to this. Okay, from here up to this, it is called as mean diameter of the coil. This is the mean diameter of the coil. In that mean diameter, if you measure the diameter from outside, from here to here, it is called as outer diameter of the coil. It is denoted by D0. From here to here. Similarly, from inner, from inside of this, that is called as inner diameter of the coil. And this P is nothing but the pitch. It is denoted by small p. And F is the applied load, that is applied axial load on the spring. Okay, except this, some other terms are there. I is nothing but number of active coils. Okay, how many number of active coils are there? Okay, I dash is nothing but total number of coils. How many total number of coils are there in the spring? Okay, that will be given. Okay, in some of the data book they have mentioned it as K0, and some of the textbooks or data book they have mentioned as F0. Okay, This K is nothing but stiffness. When you take K naught or F naught, it's nothing but stiffness of the spring. Okay, whatever the spring you have taken, okay, and that is a constant. Okay, stiffness will not change, it is constant, K naught or F naught or a spring, and it is also called as rate of spring. Okay, and A is nothing but we'll call it as a clearance. Okay, how to calculate that? Okay, while solving the problem, I will show you where you will be using that. That is the free length of the spring. At that time, you will be using this A. How to take down that A value? That is clearance. That you have to take 25% of the maximum deflection you can take. Okay, whatever the deflection is there, maximum deflection. Here you can see that. This is the maximum deflection. Okay, in that you can take 25% of the maximum deflection. That is one method to take down the A value. Otherwise, you can use this formula. A is equal to I dash. You can take down total number of coils. It will be given -1 into gap between the adjacent coil. What is the gap between the adjacent? You can see that is pitch. The gap between the adjacent coils. Okay, from that you will calculate the A value. Either you can use this or this. Okay, these are the different symbols which will be used in the helical spring. Okay. Next derivation is there. Okay, in this two derivations are there. Okay, that is I think half page derivation is there. Okay, almost it will take or it will be asked for 5 or max 6 marks. Okay, and in the previous two question paper they have asked this derivation. In this you can see that stress in helical spring of a circular wire. Okay, how to find out the stress in the helical springs of a circular wire. Okay, here you can see that we have considered helical spring of a circular wire. Okay, in that figure A and figure B is there. Okay, in figure A, what I am going to do is I am going to consider what you call that helical compression spring. Okay, which is made up of a circular wire. Here you can see that it is a circular wire and which is subjected to axial loading. Here you can see that it is subjected to axial loading, whatever the figure A which you are seeing. Okay, and in figure B, whatever the sketch you are seeing in this, I am going to consider the quadrant. Okay, this quadrant of a coil. I am going to consider the quadrant of a round coil. Round, that is wire spring, which is shown in this figure B. If this is the total diameter, and this will be d by 2. From here I have considered means total diameter is d. Okay, that is nothing but mean diameter. If you measure from this, it is called as outer diameter. From here it is called as inner diameter. Here I am going to consider this d, whereas in figure B I am going to consider the quadrant of a coil. From here to here it will be d by 2. I have taken this as d by 2. Okay, and now you know that whatever the twisting is there, twisting movement due to the applied force F. Okay, when the applied force F is acting on that, okay, therefore the torque is nothing but force into the radius. Okay, and the radius of this is d by 2. If you consider the radius of this, it will be total diameter is d, it will be d by 2. Substitute that radius d by 2. Already this equation is there in your data book. Okay, if you are carrying the data book, you can open that data book, and from the next class compulsory you should carry the data book. Okay, why? Because in the each class I will be giving, or whether it is a derivation or the problematic, I will be telling you to refer that. Okay, open chapter number 11, that is spring, and that 11.1a equation, you will get the twisting moment due to the applied force F. It is T is equal to F into R is d by 2. Substitute that value. After that, you will get that torque. Now, we know that whatever the torsional moment is there, okay, you have derived this equation in your mechanics of material. Okay, torsional moment is also equal to F into R, and you have derived this T is equal to pi d cube tau divided by 16. Okay, why? Because whatever the shear stress is there, okay, because of the force applied, there will be a torsional shear stress which will be induced in this. Because of the torsion movement, torsional shear stress will be induced in that. Tau 1 is nothing but the torsional shear stress which will be induced in the member. Therefore, torque is equal to pi d cube into torsional shear stress divided by 16. Okay. Now you know that from the previous equation, this torque T is equal to F into d by 2. Substitute T is equal to F into d by 2 in this equation. I'm going to substitute T is equal to F d by 2. Okay, and this equation is also given in the data handbook. It is 11.1b equation. Okay, now I need to find out the torsional shear stress induced in the member because of the force applied. Okay, now take this 16 to the left hand side. This will be 2, you will get cancelled, the remaining is 8. Okay, if you take this, otherwise I will write that. Okay, if you take this to the right hand side, therefore tau 1 is equal to, take this to the 16d divided by 16d into F divided by 2. Okay, after that, take this term to the left hand side. It will come to the denominator. It will be pi d cube. Okay, in this case, it will be 2 1s are 8s are 60. Okay, therefore remaining is 8 FD divided by pi d cube. This is the required equation. That is the torsional shear stress which you will be obtaining. Okay, it is there in the data handbook. It is 11.1c. Okay. I think up to this you have understood. Okay, I will finish this. Still, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. I will clarify that. Now, along with this torsional shear stress, okay, two other shear stress will be acting. That is, one is direct stress due to the load. Whatever the load which is applied, because of that, there will be a direct stress will be acting on that, along with the stress due to the curvature of the wire. Okay, here you can see that here the cross-sectional area is changing because of the curvature. Okay, the stress due to the curvature of wire also will be acting that. Okay, now I am going to consider the direct stress due to the load. Okay, how you are going to find out the stress? Stress is nothing but load divided by cross-sectional area. Here, therefore, direct stress is equal to, direct stress is, that is tau 2 I will take. Okay, direct shear stress is equal to load divided by cross-sectional area. What is the load applied here? Load applied is F. Substitute it as F. F divided by cross-sectional area of the wire. If you take the cross-sectional area of this wire, it is pi by 4 d square. Substitute pi by 4 d square. Take this 4 term to the numerator. It will be 4f divided by pi d square. Okay. Now, you need to consider the direct stress as well as the torsional shear stress. Therefore, the resultant shear stress induced in the wire. Therefore, the resultant shear stress induced in the wire, that is tau is equal to, it is the addition of this, or the sum of torsional shear stress, that is tau 1, and the direct shear stress due to the load F, that is tau 2. You need to add both this. Substitute the value of tau 1 and substitute the value of tau 2. Okay. Now what I will do, I am going to take this 8 fd by pi d cube common. Okay, if you take this common, the remaining inside the bracket it will be, when you take this outside it will be 1 plus. In this also I need to take 8 ft by pi d cube. Okay, for that reason what I need to do, I am going to take d cube outside, whereas in this term only d square is there. What I need to do, I need to multiply this with d square if I am going to take this. Oh, sorry, I have to take that in the numerator. Okay, why? Because once again you should get that original one once you take it outside from this d. Now it is pi d cube. Okay, whereas here I am going to take 8 outside. Okay, whereas here only the term 4 is there. For that reason, if I am going to take 8 outside, means I need to divide it by 1 by 2. Okay, whereas here d, capital D term is there, here capital D is not there. What I will do, I will take capital D. Okay, now in this, if you take this 8fd by pi d cube, okay, outside, this is the remaining one. Otherwise, if you take this whatever the bracket you have taken inside that outside, if you take this term inside, you will get this original one, that is 4f by pi d square. Otherwise I will do that. Okay, if you take this inside, means it will be multiplied 8f d divided by pi d cube. Okay, in this you can see that d will get cancelled. This is cube, means the remaining is d square. This capital D will get cancelled. 2 ones are 2 4s are. Okay, the remaining is 4f divided by pi d square, means you will get the original equation. Okay, here I have taken this 8f by pi d cube. Once you take that, you will get this term. Okay, and you know that is whatever this c is there. C, I have used the what you call the definitions. Here I have given that c is nothing but spring index. The spring index is nothing but, in the data book it has given as capital C, or in textbook it has given as small c. Okay, it is nothing but it is the ratio of mean diameter to the diameter of the coil. I am going to substitute that here in this. Whatever the c is nothing but capital D, you will take this term here. It will be capital D by small d. It is nothing but c. It will be 2c. C is nothing but capital D by small d. Okay, and whatever this entire term is there, okay, whatever this entire term is there, I will write it as ks. Okay, where this ks is nothing but 1 plus 1 divided by 2c. This is the resultant shear stress induced in the wire. Okay, whereas in order to consider, here you can see that direct shear stress due to the load. Okay, you have taken the resultant shear stress. Okay, but you haven't considered the stresses due to the curvature of the wire. You need to consider that also, stresses due to the curvature of the wire. For that reason, whatever this AM1 is there, AM1, what he has done to consider the effect of the both direct shear as well as the curvature of the wire, okay, he has introduced the Vaughan's stress factor. Whatever this K is there, it is called as Vaughan's stress factor. It was introduced by A.M. Vaughan. Okay, you need to multiply. You need to multiply instead of Ks. What you need to do, you have to multiply that with K. Okay, this is the final equation which is there in your data input. That is the maximum shear stress induced in the wire. Equation is 11.1 D. And whatever this K is nothing but Vaughan's stress factor. Okay, it is also given in the data book, that is 11.2a. This is the derivation or stress induced in a helical spring of circular wire. If you are understood this, whatever the equations we have used, all the equations are there in your data input. Only slightly 2 or 3 steps you need to add that. This final equation is also there. If it is asked, it will be for 5 or 6 marks. If you understood this, I will proceed with the next one. Otherwise, if you have any doubts up to this, you can ask me. I will clarify that. And after that, I will go. Do you have any doubts, or all of you have understood?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in the spring terminology, what do you mean by I, sir? Number of active coils.
See here, these are the coils. Okay, in that how many number of coils are there? That is active coils. And previously here you can see that I dash is nothing but total number of coils. Okay, in the coil there will be 5, 6 or 7 coils which will be there. In that, active coils are different and total number of coils are different. Okay, to give the what you call that, ground that, or some conditions are there. Total 4 conditions are there. Okay, for the spring. Okay, which I will be explaining in the next slide. Okay, at that time I will tell you. Okay, and or while solving the problem, I will tell you what do you mean by number of active coils and what do you mean by number of total number of coils. Then it will be clear. Why? Because if I show that picture, and you will come to know that. I will clarify that when I'm going to solve the problems. I will show that with the figure.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Shubham has written a message. Whether now the voice is clear, he's telling that some it is lagging.
Now it's clear, sir. Now it's clear, sir.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Others, do you have any doubts in this? Okay, if you don't have any doubts, I will take the next one. Okay. Now, as you apply the load, okay, otherwise, see here, in this figure, this is without the application of the load, or force is not applied on this. Okay. Now, if I apply the load, means the spring will deflect. Okay. How to find out that deflection? Okay. Derivation is there. Okay. Deflection of the helical spring of a circular cross-section wire. Okay. How to find out that? Now, how to take down the total length of the wire? Okay, whatever the wire which is used to construct the spring. Okay, you should know the total length of the wire. How to calculate that? That is length of one coil. You have to take the length. See here n number of coils are there. 5, 6 or 7 number of coils are there. To note down or to calculate the total length of the wire, I'm not talking about the free length. I am talking about the total length. For example, if this is the original wire, okay, and after that it will be coiled in a spiral way. Okay, you need to measure the total length of this wire. Okay, how to measure that? Total length of the wire is equal to length of one coil. Okay, you take whatever this one coil is there, or if you see it from the top side, it will look like this. Okay, you need to measure the length of this one coil. Okay, how to measure that length? Okay, how to measure the length of that? Therefore, length of one coil into, okay, how many number of coils are there? Whether it is 4, 5 or 6 is there. Therefore, length of one coil into number of active coils, means here how many number of active coils are there? That is I dash. Total number, sorry, I. Total number of active coils. Okay, how many number of active coils are there? You need to count that. Okay, that has to be multiplied with the length of one coil. Okay, how to measure the length of one coil? Okay, to measure that length of one coil, okay, to measure the length of this coil, you will be knowing the mean diameter, correct? Whatever this d is there, you will be knowing the d multiplied by pi, that will give the length of this one coil, multiplied by number of active coils. How many number of active coils are there? Okay, you take down that, from that you will get the total length of the coil. Okay, once I get the total number of the length of the coil, next is when the member is subjected for deflection. Okay, when the member is subjected for deflection, or when you apply the load, the member will be deflecting. Okay, this deflection is denoted by y. Y is equal to theta into d by 2. Okay, why I have taken this d by 2 means, for example, wait for me time. I need to on the charging. Okay. In this, okay. If this is the spring, when you view it from the top, okay, axial deflection, y is equal to, how to measure that? That is theta. Okay, angular deflection, you have to consider that. Okay, how to consider that? This is the spring from the top side. Okay, if the total diameter is d, okay, and the diameter from the center, it will be d by 2. This will be d by 2. Okay, and when the member is subjected for compression, okay, if you see the previous okay, in this, if the member is subjected for compression, here you are going to compress it. Okay, means the spring will deflect. Okay, if the member is getting compressed, means what happens? If this is the original position of this, if it is getting compressed, means this point will be shifted here. This point will be shifted by an angle. Okay, that angle will take it as theta. Okay, if the member is subjected for tensile loading, okay, if you stretch that, Okay, this point will be deflected at the bottom. If it is subjected for compression, okay, there will be a deflection, and if it's subjected for tensile, okay, in that case also the member will deflect. Whereas in compression, it is going to reduce its length, whereas in tensile, the member will stretch. Okay, that's why it will this point will come here. Okay, whatever this angle is there, we are going to call that angle as, yeah, for example, if this is a point here, if it is subjected for compression, it will be shifted here. If it is subjected for tensile, it will be shifted at this point. Okay, and this whatever angle is there, that angle is theta. That is angular deflection. Okay, and whatever this deflection is there, you need to measure that. If you see this is nothing but a deflection of that, and it is denoted by y. Okay, how you are going to find out that? Or this is nothing but arc. Okay, how you are going to find out that arc? Can anyone tell me?
Radius into the angles.
Yes, radius into the angle. Radius is r. R is nothing but d by 2. Okay, d by 2, and from that you will get that deflection. Therefore, y is equal to theta into d by 2. Think now you have understood. Okay, how I got this axial deflection of the spring. And this theta is nothing but angular deflection, and we know that whatever this T by J is there, T by J is equal to tau by R, okay, is equal to G theta by L. You have derived this equation in your mechanics of material. Okay, directly I have taken that equation from that. Okay, substitute the values. In this case, you need to find out the angular deflection. You don't know the angular deflection. Okay, I need to calculate that angular deflection. For that reason, I am going to take this equation. Okay, from this, okay, I can have the value of theta. Therefore, theta is equal to, take this term to the left side. It will be T into L divided by J into G. Okay, G into J. Okay, you know that T is nothing but F into torque is nothing but force into radius. Radius is capital D by 2. Okay, you have taken this from the previous derivation. Okay, the torque is nothing but force multiplied radius. Radius is D by 2. L is nothing but length, total length of the wire. It is pi into Di. Substitute that. L is equal to pi Di. G, modulus of rigidity. J is nothing but polar moment of inertia. Okay, polar moment of inertia for a circular one. Okay, it will be pi by 32 d cube. This is a standard one. Therefore, polar moment of inertia is pi by 32 d cube. I have substituted that. Okay, this polar moment of inertia also you have used this term in your mechanics of material. Okay, I think you have used this in torsion and column module. Okay, substitute the values of J here. Okay, take this term to the numerator. Okay, it will be 32 by 2 means it will be 16 F D into D. It will be D square into I. Pi will get cancelled. Okay, remaining is G D cube. Okay. After that, now whatever the angular deflection is there, theta, you will get it as 60 F D square I divided by G into D raised to 4. Okay, and this equation is there in your data book. That is 11.4. That equation is there in your data book. It is equation 11.4. sorry, here whatever this polar moment of inertia is there, it is actually pi by 32 d raised to 4, not d cube. By mistake I have written it as d cube. It has to be pi by 32 d raised to 4. Okay, the remaining will be 16 f capital D square by I g d raised to 4. Now you have obtained the angular deflection. Now you can substitute that angular deflection in this equation, that is axial deflection of the spring. Therefore, axial deflection of the spring is equal to y is equal to theta d by 2. Substitute the value of theta. I have substituted the value of theta into d by 2. Okay, 2 ones are, therefore it is 2 8s are 16, and this d square and into d, it will be d cube. Therefore, it will be 8 f d cube into I divided by g into d raised to 4. Okay, this is the axial deflection of the spring. Okay, but we know that stiffness, okay, from the formula, we know that stiffness, while giving the definitions or the terms which are used in this spring, I given that where is that stiffness, spring stiffness, yeah, here k is equal to f by y. Okay, here therefore stiffness is equal to f divided by y. Okay, now you have calculated the deflection. Substitute that deflection value here, you will get the stiffness, that is f naught is equal to, if you take this term to the denominator, okay, in this case this f will get cancelled, it will go to the numerator. I am running out of battery. Okay, power supply is not there. If you take this to the numerator, it will be g t raised to 4 divided by 8 d cube I. This is the required stiffness. Okay, deflection you obtain and the stiffness of the helical spring of circular cross section you have obtained. Okay, if you have any doubts in this, you can ask me, I will clarify that. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Up to this, all of you have understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If all of you understood this, okay, in the next class, I will tell you 4 types of conditions are there, anti conditions. Okay, after that, I will take the procedure. Okay, what is the procedure to design the spring? After that, we can solve the problem. And one of your friend has asked the doubt, what do you mean by that active spring and what do you mean by total number of spring? Now, after that, I will clarify that before starting the problem. Okay, you can view your attendance.